So an important topic that we're yet to discuss yet is the importance of sector specialism. Us as digital recruiters, we go into the finer detail of the market. We've got people who just recruit front-end developers, people that just recruit IT project managers. So curious to know your guys' thoughts on that, the importance of sector specialism.
So sector specialism to me, really critical. I think from my market, the value that I can add to clients is around knowing the candidates in my space. And I think when we're looking at recruiters from talent teams or generalist agencies, I think they are spread so thin that you've got to understand the functional and technical skills of the role that you're recruiting for. And B, when we're talking about sales, like there's countless candidates that I know how they're performing against target. I know where their challenges are, where their strengths are, who they've sold to, how they like to be managed, who's managed them before. This level of detail is just, it's impossible for a generalist or an internal talent team to know. I've worked in a generalist agency, and I think there's definitely been a shift towards more specialist recruitment over the last sort of 10 to 15 years. I think it's really, really critical to have a sort of a specialism. How niche you go, I'm unsure. The market needs to be big enough so that you can, you can operate in, essentially from a commercial perspective. But I think, you should have some sort of core skill set to your recruitment strategy.
I think a specialism is 100% important, because I know as a specialist, if I'm against a generalist agency, in regards to speed of delivery, I'm going to win. Because by the time they've sent their advert out, sent messages out on LinkedIn, I've already spoken to 15, 20 people. So from a recruiting perspective, it's a huge advantage for you. But then also from the client's perspective, they're getting access to candidates that aren't available to everyone on the market. So I'm getting messages from candidates before they've started their search, before the CV's gone on the job boards. So my clients are getting access to those people before everyone else. They're not having to compete against 3-4 other offers, because this candidate's not applying to every job going because he's not quite ready yet. He's just reached out to me for a chat. And also, what about the tailored advice that I can give? I know the salaries. I know what their competitors are offering. I know benefits packages. So that expert knowledge, those expert insights, as we call them, it's very, very, very valuable to the clients. And then when candidates reach out, they're reaching out to a recruiter that knows the market. So say they're using X, Y, and Z as a technology stack. I know which companies within the region are using X, Y, and Z. So their CV can go to that client straight away. Do you have examples of that, of when candidates have come to you passively and then you know exactly where you could send their CV? Or
and it works both ways when we're talking about, who do you choose as your recruiter? Whether it's a candidate deciding or a client deciding, there's so much value add with a specialist recruiter. Just to follow on from what Aaron said in terms of, sussing out who the salespeople are they who they say they are? Everyone talks big numbers, but are they who they say they are? Have they been hitting their sales quotas? Not just in terms of assessing the softer skills of the salespeople, but becoming an industry specialist. There's a good example I can give you guys. So there was a global cloud managed service provider. They operated in North America, Europe, across Asia or Southeast Asia. They were looking to enter the Middle East market. So there's so much value add you can have being a specialist recruiter. I'd built this nice niche within public cloud. Public cloud at the time was still fairly new in its inception in the Middle East. Okay, so these guys were coming in. They weren't really sure about the talent in the market. The value add I had was saving them so much time, letting them know that actually you could spend weeks, months trying to find these people that have sold public cloud, AWS, GCP. You're not going to. I was able to get some flexibility on the search, where eventually we hired top salespeople who'd sold IT managed services. And those guys ended up becoming top performers across the UAE, Saudi, Qatar. So really understanding the market can save a client so much time. And it even got to the point with these clients where because we had such a strong network in the Middle East, we were able to introduce them to CIOs that we placed at some of the top banks, retailers who were even able to refer them business through the network that we had. So there's just so much value add. The list goes on. Yeah, the salary benchmarking you mentioned, just general market insights. So I completely agree.
I've had very similar experiences as well, where clients have come to me, and that consultative approach and the extra value add, I suppose, of what you can offer comes from, I'll give you an example. So we've had a client that was looking to launch in Saudi Arabia, and this is a common theme, right, in the MENA region at the moment, is that companies that are established in Dubai are looking to now, go over to Saudi Arabia and enter that market. Now, with that comes so many different challenges. A lot of the clients that I work with are startups. So when you're thinking about founders, this is their first sort of time leading a business, let's say. And so for me, as somebody that has worked with multiple companies that have launched in Saudi Arabia and seen people fail, I've seen people work. I've seen it work for some, certain methods work for some and certain methods not work for others. That's the consultative part of recruitment that goes beyond looking for technical skills on a CV. And I think this is what we are, right? We're recruitment consultants. So it's important to remember that, solutions to problems is not just by sending a CV, but it's actually looking at the business and seeing where you can add value.
Yeah, and we spoke about this yesterday in the car while we were going to get the outfits for today.
We
we did.
Telling the secrets now. Well, I hope everybody likes them.
No, but we did, didn't we? And I gave you an example of when I was working in London. I had a candidate reach out to me. He said, "Hi Luigi, not actively looking for a new job right now, but would be interested in connecting, letting you know what I would be interested in if something did come along." And I didn't have anything at the time that met that. 3 months down the line, a job came through. And yeah, he was perfect for it, reached out to him and he got the job. On his LinkedIn profile, his job title was very vague. It said analytics engineer. There was no part underneath that explained the tech that he's using, but I only knew that from being a market specialist and him reaching out to me because of my reputation. So that client had access to a candidate that no one else did. And that was the advantage of working with a recruiter that was a specialist.